Hey guys, Will here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to our video series on building a racing simulator. So as you can see on my lap here, I have a brand new Buttkicker Gamer 2 transducer system. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you or talking a little bit about exactly what this is, how it works, how to install it on your rig, what you get in the box, as well as how to configure all of the software and hardware so you get the most realistic simulation experience possible for as cheap a price as possible. Now you might have seen a little bit of talk about these online, people talking about, hey, you know, it's not that expensive, but you also need to spend another $100 once you bought it on software to make it work. Now that is kind of true in a sense and kind of not true in a sense. There's a couple of ways around it. There's a couple of different software packages that you can use. So I'm going to take you through all of that in this video, explain it all to you in lots and lots of detail. So the first thing that I wanted to just quickly touch on is what exactly it is. So the easiest way to explain how this works is it's very similar to a subwoofer. So essentially you're taking the audio signal out of your computer, you're amplifying it with the 90-watt amplifier that this comes with, and then you're sending that signal through what's called a transducer. Now a transducer works very, very similarly to a subwoofer in that it has a voice coil inside it. You send a signal through that voice coil and it causes movement. So in the case of a subwoofer, what the movement is the speaker cone moving up and down, which creates the sound waves which you hear as the bass. In the case of a transducer, what it's doing is it's moving a weight. So that voice coil activates and the weight moves from side to side. Now, as that weight moves, it creates vibration. That vibration is transferred through the seat that you're sitting in, and that's what causes you to feel that vibration. So I've actually used a similar system to this many, many years ago. It was called an Aura shaker that I bought from JCar Electronics, and it was like a backpack or a lumbar support that you sat in your chair. And it was kind of cool, but it wasn't super realistic, and it was very kind of, I guess, primitive compared to what I expect we'll get out of this. So we'll get started off by unboxing it, show you what comes in the box, then we'll get it all set up on the rig, and we'll get it all hooked up to our hardware, show you what the various different configuration options are there, and then we'll get into the software side of things and how we get it all set up for the most realistic simulation experience possible. So let's get stuck into it. Okay, so let's have a look at what we get in the box. Now, we'll just also state here that I did pay full retail for this. It's not a sponsored video in any way at all, so this is going to be my honest opinions and impressions of the product. So we'll start off, we've got a little warranty card here and also the specifications of the product as well. So it tells us here that it is a 90-watt RMS amplifier at 2 ohms. So it's a pretty hefty amplifier there. Should give us quite a bit of power. We've also got a little instruction manual showing us very, very basic, simple terms how to install the system onto our rig and chair and how to plug it all into the computer and everything. Now, I feel like these are a little bit outdated. There's a couple of little instructions here that I don't necessarily agree with, and there's a couple of software packages that it doesn't mention, which we'll definitely want to utilize when we actually set this thing up. So we'll check that out a little bit later on, but we've got here a little Y cable which we can use to install onto our sound card if we're using a single output. I'll explain that in a little bit more detail later on as well. That's all we have in that piece. We've got the power amplifier itself, so we'll quickly have a look at that. Unbox it here. We've got an instruction manual for it. We've got the remote commander, which is going to be really important. We'll mount that up on our rig, and that will give us nice control over the intensity of the output as well as a power off and on button. So if there's an emergency situation where you need to switch it off quickly, you can hit that power button and it will switch off. And that feels nice and sturdy. It's a nice solid construction. It doesn't feel plastically and cheap or anything like that. We've got a hefty power cable here as well, which is always good. And then we've got the actual assembly itself for the power amplifier. So we'll quickly have a look at that. I'm trying to do this one-handed. So pull that off, move the box aside, and we have a very nicely constructed power amplifier there. So you can see here we've got a low frequency cutoff or a low pass filter. We've got our high frequency cutoff adjustment, so we can adjust here the frequency range that will actually feel through it. Then we've got our high pass filter. We've got our clipping signal here as well to tell us when we've got the volume turned up too high. And then we've got our output adjustment here. Now it's a little bit funny that it's a plus and minus button for the volume adjustment and not like just a, you know, an analog switch. But I guess there's probably a good reason for that, and we'll find that out a little bit later on. Now on the back, we've got our audio input, so just RCAs, power switch here as well, jug cord input for our power, and then our output to our transducer. So very, very simple design, but that's good because it means that it's nice and simple to use when you're all set up and running inside your rig. So we'll move that out of the way as well. Okay. So it is a really solid little piece of kit there, isn't it? It actually weighs probably about 1 kilogram. So it's a really nice construction here. So we've got a nice butt kicker sticker here as well. a heatsink kind of design here, so I'm assuming that it does get quite warm when it's operating, and a nice chunky thick cable here as well. Now it's not the longest cable in the world, but I'm assuming it looks like we've got an extension in here as well. So let's set this box aside. We'll set this down and we'll have a look at what we get in this bag as well. So open this up and we have, yeah, okay, so we've got a extension here with some banana plugs here to go into the back of the amplifier. So that will plug into the amplifier here like that. And then this side here plugs into the transducer like that. So that's nice and easy. We'll set that aside as well. Then we've got a little Velcro strap here, or a couple of little Velcro straps here that we can use to secure cables to our rig. We've got another splitter here for a RCA output into a single RCA input. We've got another 3.5mm stereo to RCA cable here as well. And then we've got an additional extension for a single RCA as well. So that's everything that you get inside the box. So we'll start off, I think, by actually installing the transducer onto our rig, and then I'll show you how to wire everything else up and get it all set up properly. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a next level racing cockpit like this GT track, which I'm going to use as an example here, it should have come with a Buttkicker Gamer 2 mount. So essentially all you do is just bolt that to the bottom of your seat, and then you would undo the little clasp on the bottom of the butt kicker. So basically unscrew it like this. Now you'll need to unscrew it a little bit further than you might think here, just to make sure it's released enough to clamp onto the seat. So unscrew it, it folds out just like that. Put it across like so, and then you just bolt it back on. I might actually do it upside down just for the sake of the video so you can kind of get a better view of what's going on here. So put it on like that, it goes across the top here, screw it down again. So I want to screw it down nice and tight, and it's as simple as that. Now this is assuming that you're only going to be using one of these. What some people do is actually install 4, and you can set up your software to simulate the different corners of the car. So in that case, you would install one in each corner of your simulator cockpit. It really depends on how you want to configure it. For the scope of this video, we're only using one, so we're only going to do it as if we're installing one. So the best place to install it is underneath your seat in your cockpit. Now if you're wanting to install it on a gaming chair, you do exactly the same thing. So just use the latch like that, go across, put the pin on, so loosen it up a little bit just to make sure it clamps on. And then we clamp it into position facing forward. Now obviously having it mounted to a gaming chair, it will restrict the amount of movement which the piston can move up and down, so you might not be able to raise and lower your seat quite as much, but I don't imagine it should be a problem for most people. So with the shaker installed, now is the time to install the extension cable. So it doesn't matter which way around you flip the polarity with this plug, just plug it in. Now we can install the banana plug. Again, it doesn't really matter which way around you put it. The polarity is marked, but it doesn't really matter because it's a single voice coil that we're going to be using here. So plug in your jug cord. Now we want to plug in the RCA cable. So if you're running a single amplifier, you can plug in both of these, even though one says output. What it'll do is it'll just link the left and right channels together as a single mono input. Otherwise, you'll just want to install the top plug, which is the black one. Next, we need to plug in the 3.5mm stereo jack into the audio output. So this might be the green output on your sound card, on your motherboard, the headphone jack of your console, your TV, and so forth. So if you do have an additional source, you can plug in the Y splitter here, plug both sources in, so the Buttkicker amplifier and your speakers or headphones, and then plug the jack into the sound card. Okay, so once we've got everything plugged in and set up on the hardware side, it's time to move across to software. So as you can see here, I've got my sound control panel up. Now, if you've only got one audio output on your machine, so be your motherboard or your sound card or whatever, then you're a little bit limited in what you can do here because you're gonna need to use that Y cable that we showed you earlier so that you can have sound through your speakers or headphones, as well as sound outputted to the Buttkicker amplifier. So if you're using the single output for both devices, then you don't really need to touch anything here because it's just gonna output through the same audio device that you would normally be outputting through anyway. Now the limitation here is that because we've only got one audio output, we can't actually control how the Buttkicker will perform independently of the audio signal that you would have sending to your speakers. So we can't control things like engine vibration, engine noise, ripple strips, and track effects and things like that independently of the rest of the system. Now if we have multiple audio devices, what we can do is we can have independent control of things like that. So I'm going to show you how to set that up now in this part of the video. So you click on choose your output device here, and you can see we actually have a range of various different outputs here that are available on my machine. So I've got my USB audio interface, which is what I use for my chat on Twitch. I've got my Realtek digital output, which is the output that I use for my game audio through my Astro headphones. I've got the Realtek high definition audio, which is what I've actually got the Buttkicker plugged into now. I've got my speakers through the Astro chat, which is what I use for Discord. And then I've also got my two monitors as well. Because they both use either DisplayPort or HDMI, that protocol actually also supports audio as well. So if you've got a HDMI or DisplayPort monitor, chances are you'll be able to use that audio output. So don't go thinking automatically that you need to buy a sound card just to run your Buttkicker. Chances are you're going to have an output that you can use. Now, because this is our game audio, I'm going to leave that selected on my digital output here. I'm going to close that off. Now we need to look at the actual software that we're going to use to control the Buttkicker. So there's a couple of different options that you have available to you here. Now the first one, which I'm going to look at here, which is probably the most well-known one, is SimVibe. Now SimVibe works really, really well, but it's also quite expensive here. So you can see here it's $89 US just to buy the software. Now I don't really want to pay $89 for an additional piece of software. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use SimHub. Now SimHub, you might remember from my digital display video. If you haven't already seen that video, I suggest you check it out. It's a really cool way to have a third-party display that shows all your telemetry and things like that that you can mount on top of your wheel or whatever. I'm actually using a smartphone as a digital display. So we'll download and install SimHub. And then what we can do is we can actually use this to control our bass shakers as well. So you can see there's a little diagram here on the SimHub page that shows how we can use a dedicated sound card to control our amplifier for our bass shakers. And you can walk through this. I mean, I'll link this below for you so you can go through all the settings here yourself. But what I'm going to do now is actually show you how to set all this up. So we'll open up SimHub. We'll click on the Shake It Bass Shaker setting here. And what we want to do is click on Bass Shaker Settings. Click on sound card, and now we want to select the audio device that we've got our Buttkicker plugged into. So in my case, I'm using the Realtek high definition audio non-digital output. So we click on that one. So because we've only got the one bass shaker, we're just going to select 2-channel, no effects spatialization here. Now, from here on, it's basically going to come down to how you want to set it up to suit your individual needs. So it's going to be a bit of trial and error. That's the basic configuration. So when we click on these buttons now, we should actually feel or hear the vibration from the motor. So we'll quickly click that now. And I can hear there the motor's working on both outputs, so that's great, left and right. That means everything's working there. Now we're going to have it active on replays as well, so when we're in a replay inside our game, it also works. You don't need to have that selected. Automatically reconnect audio output after game exit. Now we don't really want to do that in this case, I don't think, because I'm not going to use it outside of my games. Enable dynamic range compression. Now for now, I'm going to leave that off because I do have some dynamic range adjustment actually on the amplifier itself. If I find I need to switch that on later, I can do so. Now here for controls, also we have increase overall shake it power gain and decrease. We can configure those here, but again, I'm just going to leave those alone for now because we do have that little remote commander that we can use to adjust those settings. So now we click on effects. And you can see here we've got individual control of each of the effects that we have inside the car. So we've got left and right wheel vibration, so we might switch those on for now. Wheel slide and corner vibration, wheel lock, so if we lock a wheel. Acceleration, speed, we probably don't want to switch it on for speed, maybe RPM or reverse gear. I mean, there's all these settings here that you can play around with. We might have simulated road texture, I think that'd be pretty cool. Acceleration and G-force, I don't think I'll switch on for now because it's not really relevant to the type of rig that I have. Gear change, so it'll give us a bit of a clunk when we change gears. So you can see here, if we click on each individual one to extend the menu, we actually have a massive range of adjustment here as well that we can use to fine tune and tweak different settings. You can test it as well. So you click on test now and you'll feel it go through the seat. So pretty cool here. You can really fine tune everything. But from here, what we need to do now is actually jump into our game and make sure that it's all configured to run with SimHub. And then we can actually test it all out and see how it works. So let's jump into the game now. Okay guys, so we're now sitting inside the simulator in F1 2018. Now, there's a couple more things that we need to set up just to make sure that the game is speaking to F1 2018. Now, the settings will vary depending on the simulator software that you're using, but they're all going to be roughly along these same lines. So make sure you check out the SimSubs. So make sure you do check out the SimHub settings relevant to your particular game, but we'll just quickly run you through what we need to do here. Now, of course, if you followed my previous guide where I set up the digital dash, you will have already done this, but we'll jump into telemetry settings here, make sure that D-Box is turned on. Fanatic LED and SLI Pro aren't really relevant to this particular scenario. UDP telemetry needs to be on. UDP broadcast can be off. UDP IP address needs to be 127.0.0.1 if you're running SimHub on your local PC. If you're running it on a different PC separate to the one that you're sim racing on, then you'd put in the IP address of the machine that the SimHub is running on. UDP port 20777, send rate is 60 Hz, and UDP format is 2018. So it should be as simple as that. Now, I haven't really made any adjustments to any of the SimHub settings yet. This is just completely as it is out of the box. So it'll be very interesting to see how it feels. So we'll jump out and go to the track. And I've got no idea what to expect here because I've never really used one of these for... Whoa! Oh my goodness. That's crazy. It's like... I can't describe it. It's... Oh, you feel the... Every time you change gear, you feel the clunk. That's so cool. And like, obviously, like, you're not feeling the... Oh, there's the ripple strips. It's not like you don't feel the G-forces obviously because it's not throwing you around in your seat, but the on-track effects and the ripple strips and oh my goodness, wow. This is so cool. I don't think I've ever been this excited before in a video. This is crazy. It's like, it's just added this whole new level of realism that I honestly didn't what was it, 299 bucks it was Australian for this thing, and that's got to be the best money I've spent on this rig by far. It's crazy. Like, it's not going to make me faster, I don't think, but just the level of immersion that you get from it is incredible. Oh, I just want to enjoy it for a moment. You do kind of start to feel when the car's sliding a little bit. Like, it might actually make me a little bit quicker. I don't know. Because you get that additional seat of your pants kind of feedback that I didn't expect without G-force, but you really do, because you start to feel the car break away a little bit. Like, it's not necessarily a realistic feeling of traction loss, but the fact that you're getting something really does make a difference, I think. So anyway, I mean, this isn't a fast lap, but one other thing that I just want to quickly test. So we'll just pause quickly and see how loud this thing actually is with no sound. So let me just mute the game audio for you quickly. So we'll click out, mute the game audio, because a lot of people are probably going to be wondering whether you can use one of these while the wife and kids are asleep, because a lot of people do sim racing at night time. So I'll take my headphones off actually and just see how loud it is. So, okay, that's not really loud at all. I mean, I don't know if you guys can even hear that on the microphone. I've got the microphone set up as sort of like a room microphone, so you'll hear all the noise. And I mean, obviously you can hear me shifting gears and everything. You can hear the vibration in the steering wheel, or you should do when I go over the ripple strips here. Yeah. Well, losing it because I got no sound, but yeah, I mean, it's not... I mean, you can hear there when I change gear, you hear the boom in the... I don't know if you can hear that, but there's a nice clunk when you change gear. But no, I mean, it's not loud by any means. I mean, it would definitely transfer vibration through the floor a little bit, I'd imagine. So you'd hear it, but it's definitely not what I would call an obnoxious sound at all. So, look, I mean, I'm absolutely thrilled with this. I'm absolutely over the moon, and I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into the settings, doing some fine tweaking and everything. But, I mean, as it stands straight out of the box, it's freaking incredible. Yeah, man, this is so cool. I'm over the moon with it. Okay, guys, so that is my quick unboxing, assembly, and quick overview of how to set up the Buttkicker Gamer 2. And I've got to say, like, that really is the best money I've ever spent on this simulator rig. It really is incredible how much different... I can't wipe this grin off my face. It's just added this level of immersion that I didn't even realize was possible for a rig like this inside the house. I mean, like, obviously you don't feel the G-forces, you don't feel it throwing you around in the seat and stuff, but the amount of effects that you get from just the ripple strips and even just the clunk changing gear, like, it really clunks like a real car does. It's just amazing. So look, guys, I'm absolutely over the moon with this, and as I said at the start of the video, it's not a sponsored video in any way. I paid full retail for this, and I gotta say, I'm absolutely blown away by it. So look guys, obviously I'm gonna get stuck more into the settings. I'm gonna do some fine adjustment and tuning and things like that, and do another video in a couple of weeks letting you know what I've found and how I've tweaked things and adjusted things to suit my individual needs. But I think I'll leave it at that for this video. So hopefully you found it interesting and useful. If you have, please do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well so you don't miss the next video. And of course, don't forget to check out our Discord server, which is linked in the description below, to jump in on the conversation. We also now have a Twitch channel as well, where I'll be streaming a lot of online racing, so you're welcome to check that out as well, also linked in the description below. But thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.